we never planned this stuff. It just all kind of flows out.
Yeah, that worked out really well.
What we say to each other cannot be divisive.
Gosh, I just think that when we get so focused on walking the line and just miss so much of God's creativity.
We only created the Odd Show to have this conversation.
Right.
We're gonna say some bad things about stuff. If you're
Not bad things like,
if you're a huge Toby Mac
turn it off now.
For people who are struggling with why would a God of the universe care about me individually, you are his favorite. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is The Odd Show. Let's get right into it. Here's your hosts, Bruce Bugano and Thomas Hogan. All right. Hey, welcome to The Odd Show. You might hear some babbling in the background. That's because my daughter's supposed to be taking a nap. We have the monitor down here, and she's not taking a nap. So,
kids not taking naps? You tell them to take naps?
Which I'm sure that everybody else's kids do exactly what they're told. Mm-hmm. So please don't judge me as a bad father based on the actions.
Judge me as a good father. I mean, judge me silently, and then tell me to my face I'm a good father.
Patronize me right to my kid's graduation. In the next couple, we're here together. We're here together.
Oh, hey everybody! I'm in another place.
Yeah, we're going to do like we usually do. We'll do a number of episodes, and then we got a couple interviews.
A couple interviews coming up, very close together.
Yeah, same day actually.
Nice.
So we're going to follow up with James Roberson and 516 Project and 8 Days of Hope Ministry. Talk about their Lafayette, Louisiana trip and how that went down and what happened, and hear some really amazing stories.
I heard 3 men go in the water, 1 man come out the water.
I don't know what that means.
Some Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
Men go in the water.
Yeah. Except that I don't think the flooding's still there. That's why I think they went in and rebuilt the house.
I was talking about Jaws.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That happened off the coast of Florida? The
Jaws?
Set off the coast of
I
Florida
have no
or
idea.
California?
I have no idea.
Might have been California. Anyway,
That was a long time ago.
I think the great white is a Pacific shark. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about sharks.
Sure.
I'm not a sharkologist.
We know a lot about sharkology.
There's a good chance that sharks don't exist.
Our audience has expected the highest of marine biology knowledge. That's something that people expect from us. It's just the top notch.
And just like with everything else, we can't deliver. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Totally sorry about that.
The one guy who's like super into sharks is like, those guys have no idea what they're talking about.
He's like, I can't listen to this anymore.
Which is not fair. Fair.
We've lost a third of our audience.
Again.
Man. So we're going to follow up with him. And then we already have it scheduled so we can talk about it, but we have a comedian. We're going to have a comedian on.
We're going to have a person who's comedic.
Yeah. And lives in his van, which I think is an important aspect.
But more important than the comedy is the depressing part.
Is the depressing part that he lives in his van.
That's not depressing. It's awesome. No. For anyone in the audience that lives in a van. Good for you. It's good. Man down by the river. That's gonna be fun. I'm looking. I've been looking forward to that.
It's gonna be forward
to that for a while.
Great. It'll be a great.
There's a lot of stuff we're telling everybody that's coming out.
I'm excited about it though. And then the wives, we'll probably talk them into doing another episode.
The ladies will do another episode.
The ladies will do.
Should do our kids. Should have our kids like that'd be crazy. Our kids come on and talk and just do a show. But people are like, man, we didn't know it was that bad.
No.
We didn't know.
We should just walk around with it recording.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we...
Sit down, do a show together. Have Malachi and Ruben do a show together. That'd be fun. That'd be a wild show.
It'd be fidget spinners and video games.
Which I mean, that's relevant. That's very now.
No, yeah, totally. So we got all that coming up. And that's it.
That's it. A bunch of shows.
And then we're gonna work on we're gonna redo the intro.
We're gonna redo.
So there will be some hopefully
some makeover stuff.
Yeah.
Odd show makeover stuff.
Yeah. So that'll be good.
Call it makeover. The G is silent. There's no G in that.
There's no G in it.
It's also silent.
The gank over. Oh well.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so this episode though, we are going to. Thomas had mentioned talking about kind of like we had previously done a quick fire questions episode, and it was really kind of questions that we just kind of came up with. Some of them were from audience members, but this time we're gonna do kind of answer some questions that were typically asked, and a lot of them have to do with church in general. Just kind of
church,
we talk a
church
lot
questions.
about church and community, and I know like we've talked about this, but I know our like we try and put things that are relevant to the Christian walk into the show,
Right.
So that's why we have our wives on that talk about stuff that matter in real life to balance out.
I want this show. I want this show to be about real life.
Right.
That's like my main thing.
No, right. But I mean, like our wives talking about
all the talking,
real life stuff.
all the talk about TV shows, movies, comic books,
Right.
and other things that come up are completely secondary. It's not really what we're trying to do.
Right. But I mean, like the point being that our wives, when they talk about real life stuff, it balances out the fact that we talk about doing this church thing, which for us is the way that we do real life.
Yeah, real life and church. Real life and church are the same thing for me.
Right. So, but for a lot of other people,
For some people, they're two different worlds.
for a lot of other people,
Yeah.
those are two different worlds.
There's church
like
world
there's church stuff.
for like a
and
couple
then there's
hours a
real
week,
life.
and then there's everything else I do that's kind of somewhat influenced maybe a little bit by church world.
So it's easy to make it appear that the Odd Show talks about this fake thing that happens a couple hours a week, but it's not that way. Like it really isn't that way.
No, guys, for real. If you're around us all the time, this is kind of all this is all we do.
Yeah. So
GCC kind of infects is the right word to use.
Right.
Infects everything else we do. Like
Right.
how I hang out with people in my neighborhood, what I choose to do with my free time, where the way I do work and the way I interact with my coworkers and subordinates and bosses and all that stuff is GCC.
So like real life for us, GCC intersects with even the going to church on Sunday mornings.
So that's it, yeah. Community happens at church. It happens at home when I'm just hanging out with my family.
Right.
Happens when people randomly show up and want dinner.
Right.
Happens when I go out and have
Coffee
or whatever. It's all that stuff always happening.
Right. So today we're going to kind of address some of those
some of the
issues,
questions that come out of
that.
Yeah.
So I think, and we've talked about this before because we've talked about what GCC is and like the way we view it.
Watch that episode if you haven't watched the GCC episode.
Something.
There's a blog. There's a blog too.
Yeah.
It would be easier to read the blog than it probably would be to watch the episode.
Sure. But I mean, like it's months ago.
Sure.
I mean, Rob and Summer were still there.
Oh yeah.
So it was months ago. But like one of the first questions that Thomas brought up is people were like, so what is it exactly that you do?
Right, which now I should probably just tell them to go watch the episode.
Right.
Now that I think about it. I should stop explaining to people what I'm doing and just tell them to go watch YouTube.
Right.
or read the blog or something.
So that's gonna be your answer?
That's a good answer, right? Like just insert
that doesn't
link.
create content.
Insert link here. Oh, okay.
Go here.
Got it. Yeah. When people ask me, dude, what the heck are you guys doing? Because I think for context,
which we'll link that
for context. Yeah, for context purposes, it usually happens this way. We open our house to like a ton of people, right? We have this kind of open door policy where random people just kind of show up all the time, and we go pretty far out of our way to accommodate the needs of other people. And these are not people that are going to go to church,
right.
Or these are not people that are going to support the stuff that we're doing.
Right.
They're people that are kind of outside of the capability or desire to kind of
What do you mean,
reinvest
what do you mean capability?
financially
Oh, like
or
reinvest into you guys.
into what we're doing. So we're not going to get a return. Let's put it that way. There's not going to be an emotional,
right,
physical, financial return on most of the stuff we're doing. And when people that kind of do like what we're doing and are into the kind of same kind of stuff, they're like, but why are you guys doing it this way? You know, why not start a organization and do it that, you know, meet people's needs that way or whatever it looks.
So like when they're doing stuff that's parallel to what you're doing, but not exactly on the same track.
And so like, what are you guys doing? And we don't promote or kind of push a church. We're not like, hey, go to this church and this is awesome and you should do that. And we're not promoting we're not even really promoting ourselves. Like, hey, come and help us out and help us do our thing.
Right.
We're just doing it, and people are like, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
And there's usually a long
Right, and for me it comes
it's
out,
more of a criticism, I think, than it is a question on their part.
Right. For me it comes because I spend a lot more time with probably churched people.
Yeah.
And even if they're discontent, like just living out here in Idaho, in Treasure Valley, Idaho, there's this especially in the part of the town that we live in, or in the part of the Treasure Valley we live in, the city we live in, there's this historic Nazarene church tradition. Like a lot of the churches out here, man, we must have 16 Nazarene churches in a city of 89,000 people.
There's not even that many in Nazareth.
Right. Nothing good comes out of Nazareth. So.
It's a true story. It's in the Bible.
And we quote the Bible often.
We quote the Bible incorrectly a lot.
Yes. So there's a ghetto Bible, one of the podcasts I listen to, The Inglorious Bastards.
Oh, of course.
There's a
link in the description below.
Yeah. It is far from this.
Not quite. We're not quite doing the same. We're not reaching the same people.
So if you do not like cursing, do not watch The Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah.
But the stuff's relevant, and it's solid stuff most of the time. Outside of the drinking and anyway.
And the carousing and the carrying on.
But one of the Bibles they read from is
Is that one?
it's like a ghetto Bible. It's
Is that what it's called? The Ghetto Bible?
I can't remember.
Are you sure it's not just Ebonics? It's just written in Ebonics.
Well, but it is he doth come forth and said, "What the."
I don't believe it.
It's going on.
It's the Dolomite Bible. Oh my god!
But they're reading
the Shaft Bible.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, for me, I spend more time with church people, and for me, it comes out in churchese where it's just so what's your heart for, man? So what do you?
Oh yeah.
So
what do you feel called to in ministry?
Yeah. So what are you doing?
That's Christian code word for what
where
is
are
it?
You gonna serve
what's your
church?
job?
Right.
What's your job? Are you a janitor here?
And so it comes out that way where it's just
Okay.
so what exactly is your heart for? What are you doing? And most of the time I just explain it as, hey, God's called us to something that's different than what is happening here on Sunday morning.
I don't always know what to say when church people ask me because I'm literally telling them that I'm not doing your thing. That's whatever your thing is. I'm not doing that.
I try to be a little more gentle about
it. Right. But I'm just saying I don't know what the answer is, so I just say I don't know. I'm just kind of hanging out.
No, I hey,
kind of hanging out.
Not what you guys are doing on Sunday morning, but not home church.
But somewhere in in the spectrum.
There's this middle road where you love people and then you get to gather with each other.
Oh, that's a much better answer than I give people. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing in the church, and now I definitely don't know
now
what I'm doing.
Now you just watch the YouTube. I have an episode about what I'm doing.
I have an episode.
So I don't have to explain it to you and hurt your feelings like what you're doing is irrelevant.
I mean, oh man. No.
So that kind of leads into the next question.
Oh yeah.
So are you just trying to avoid accountability or tithing or both?
Yes. Which the answer to that emphatically is I'm trying to avoid accountability, waking up on Sunday, and tithing. And if I can, if you have a church that already avoids those things, then I can probably be a part of that. I can probably be a part of that.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, that is I wouldn't say a common question, but that is That is a question I have
What if
heard
it's a church that's
several
like,
times over.
you don't need to be accountable to us. Don't show up on Sunday morning. We need you to tithe.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. 2 out of 3. I might.
You don't even have to come.
I might be lenient
Just-
on one of them if they
Yeah.
give me the other 2.
Just write the check.
Just
Okay.
write the check.
Um,
No, I don't. But I think that that's a fair criticism from the outside, from the church world anyway. A fair criticism would be, I'm trying to. It might look like I'm trying to avoid the church's version of accountability, which is accurate. I don't look at that as legitimate accountability. Like, I'm accountable to Bruce, right? So if I say, hey man, we're gonna commit to doing this thing together, and I don't do it, Bruce can be like, hey, you didn't do that thing, right. and then there's a conversation and we get to work through it. And
it's built out of an understanding that like we care about each other.
Right, right.
There's mutual respect and submission
Mm-hmm.
to each other, and in that mutual submission and respect to each other, I get to call you out.
Yeah. But and then you get to encourage me also,
Right.
And it's meaningful because I care where you're coming from. I know you care deeply about my spiritual development, my emotional health, my family. We are mutually supportive, right? And that's not always the case in church world. Not for everybody. I'm sure some people that's very much the case.
Well, even if it is intended to be the case, it's hard to do that with 1,000 people.
Yeah. So I would argue that with the intimate set of people in my life right now that I reach out and have kind of a daily interaction with, or a continual interaction with, an immediate continual interaction with the people around me right now, I am accountable to them.
Right.
I don't tithe, but I give sacrificially to the needs of people that I feel that the Lord has provided an avenue for the needs of people to be met financially, and with resources, and I do that.
And emotionally, because it's not often just connected to just giving money.
Right.
It's connected to
It's
this
time,
deeper
effort,
thing.
energy. It's genuine concern,
Right.
and not concern that there's going to be some reciprocity,
Right. Yeah.
but concerned that the gospel
Reparations.
reparations.
No, that's a different thing.
Yowza.
Reciprocity.
That there is a spiritual investment,
Right.
in that the gospel needs to be a witness to these people,
Right.
or to the situation, or to this problem that we're going to fix, or we're going to attempt to minister to, and that's meaningful. Like,
Right.
and for us, so I am more accountable, I believe, now than I've ever been in my life, to people's real needs, not like some arbitrary standard that somebody set out there that I can't.
Right.
We don't expect.
Because I mean, like, let's be honest. If you're going to church on Sunday and you're having an affair, nobody knows, and the likelihood of people finding out because of the lack of intimacy and the lack of close connection, most people won't notice. But if you're in small community with people,
Mhm.
somebody's going to notice, man, something ain't right. Like, what is going on with you, man? Like, man, you ain't showing up at home. You ain't going to work like you're supposed
Your
to.
wife
Like,
is
your
stressed out all the
wife is, like,
time. You get your
dude,
kids. Your kids don't listen to anything you say.
Right,
And don't take
like-
you seriously.
like, you're checked out. Like, what is going on,
Yeah.
man? Like,
So I'm saying, in that sense, I feel like I
Right.
have more accountability in my life than I've ever, when I was in church leadership, than I ever had. Then definitely, the tithing thing I can't argue with. I mean, yeah, I don't not go to church so I don't tithe.
Right.
But I just don't think it's
you
the
don't
big
tithe, so you can't go to church.
deal. Right. I don't. It's like, I'm
It's
not
the other way
saying.
around.
I'm not saying all tithers. I'm not saying only.
I'm not allowed to go to church because I don't tithe.
That's not true, because if that were true, then
Right.
most of the church would be gone.
Right. They just don't know.
They just don't
They
tell
can't
anybody.
pinpoint because they're like, I tithe cash.
I tithing.
How come everybody tithes cash and we don't get that much cash?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How much are you guys tithing?
That's a good question, Pastor. Yeah. So no, for me, no.
Can we get on accountability groups for just a second?
Go ahead, go nuts.
Stop it.
Stop all the
Stop.
accountability groups.
Stop doing them. It's not
I wasn't gonna go that
it's
far.
not real.
I wasn't.
Most of the time. Sometimes.
90%.
But most of the time, it's not real.
90% of.
Most of the time, it's like you see the people once a week and you promise each other that you could call each other if you needed, but you won't because you only see each other for 2 hours on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. Or Thursday
That's pretty
morning.
consistent, actually. I think that's
But
that's like a Bible study almost.
Yeah. But I mean, most accountability groups are Bible studies.
Most accountability groups are,
But they're only accountability groups
Are
because
good
at the
ideas.
beginning of the beginning of the session, you ask each other if you've been pure.
yeah.
Like, have you
I would
done?
I would say most accountabilities are good. Accountability grouping is a good idea. It is.
The
It
intent's
is not
good.
a sensible execution. I would argue.
I've been in enough accountability groups to know that, especially when new people come into the accountability group that's been meeting for any kind of length of time, and everyone's like, "Have you done anything this week?" Nope, I'm good, man. Looked at porn lately? Nope. And it's like,
Liars.
when it gets to that new guy, it's just like, how about you? And he's like, I'm new. I don't know why you're asking me that. I don't know you. No, I'm good. And it forces lie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
So I would to that point, I would say that Jesus was exposed to the apostles, to the disciples, on a consistent enough basis to where they knew Jesus' pattern of behavior.
right.
And Jesus knew their pattern of behavior. And Jesus didn't constantly, for 3 years, he was committed to this ministry with these men, and he didn't constantly come back to them and be like, hey, Peter, are you still lying?
Right.
Hey, James, you still do... Judas, you still got that money issue? Or are we gonna do we need to deal with that? He knew the hearts.
He
of
knew
the
them well
people.
enough, but he also was God, so he probably knew some other stuff.
Yeah, he probably
like he
knew
could
some
be
shit.
like, "Get behind me, Satan."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think it's funny. I like whenever they wake him up and he's like, "Listen, you faithless perverts. I don't want to have to deal with you guys all the time. Just you could have done all this stuff. You could have
Right.
told. We could have just gotten over to the other side of the ocean. I was taking a nap. Why'd you wake me up? So I mean,
like how bad could the storm be if Jesus is sleeping in the boat?
it's like just listen, you faithless perverts. I love that's why I love that line. It's great. I feel so when I look at it, I just don't think it's necessary. I think it's necessary that you're accountable.
Right.
But I think you're accountable to God and you're accountable to the call of ministry. What you're offering people needs to be real and genuine.
Right.
And so if you're real and genuinely messed up, then that's what you need to be offering people. Hey, I'm working through my addiction to pornography, and will you pray with me and allow me to be healed and help me get to a place where I'm whole? Or I'm dealing with my just ridiculous amount of envy for my neighbor's
Right.
car.
And what I find is far more authentic is very much smaller groupings of people.
Yeah.
sitting
So I
together.
say be
one or two other people
be
like,
accountable.
that you're able to be like, hey man, like I am messed up. And I don't want, like, it's possible.
Yeah, I'm sure some people do it.
Like
Well.
some accountability groups are probably solid, and everyone's
Yeah, there's probably like 6 guys who've been meeting since like 1974,
right.
and they're like on it.
And those guys are
They're doing it.
right.
Like,
They have been
yeah.
free from porn for at least 4 years.
So,
At
yeah.
least 4
Oh,
years.
jeez.
Anyway, so that was just
Tirade. That was you're done with the accountability group. So I'm not against accountability. I'm pro accountability. I'm even pro.
No, yeah.
I'm pro giving. I'm pro
Right.
like go
Me too.
nuts, man.
I'm pro submission.
Be completely generous in
Right.
your and don't be selfish and don't hold back whenever the needs of other people outweigh your wants. Be okay with that. Know
Right.
that that's coming. That's the direction we're kind of going. There's
Right.
no and that any justification outside of that is selfishness on my part.
Right.
And my wife is like quick to point it out now. We're at a point in our accountability where I'm like, my wife commits to something financially, and I'm like, but I wanted to go on vacation with them. I really wanted to go on vacation, and then they're like, yeah, well, the needs of others. And I'm like, dang it, you're right.
Stop saying that. She's like, it's written like that.
It's written on the wall. I guess the needs of others do matter. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm all for all that stuff.
Right.
So no, the answer is no. I'm not trying to avoid accountability, tithing, or waking up on
Probably
Sunday.
giving more money.
I am
now.
trying to avoid waking up on Sunday, but I still
Probably
do
giving
it.
more money now than
Oh
you
yeah,
did
definitely.
when you
No, there's no comparison. I would go back to tithing. Actually, financially speaking, if I wanted to be in a better place financially, I'd go back to tithing. I would enjoy the extra that came to me if I could go back to tithing.
You know, God can do more with 90% than He can do with 100%.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Oh, I'm
pretty sure that's biblical.
I'm a little curious what He's doing with the 50% I'm already giving Him. I'm like, how's this working out?
That wasn't the formula.
This does not make any sense.
90 and 10.
But we trust God to take care of this.
All right. Another question that I've gotten is, so are you angry with church? Or it kind of comes out in like did church hurt you? Like, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Like, I've tried to go into ministry, like vocational ministry, 4 different times. And each time God's like, I didn't call you to that. Like, moves my heart towards this other direction. And very easily could have walked into a couple of ministry positions where it would have just been, and I could have.
Well, you got offered the senior pastorship.
Yeah,
I knew it.
I did.
You're an idiot. Why'd you do that? You turn that down.
I paid for building.
Yeah. Committed congregation.
Committed congregation.
All this stuff. Yeah.
9 to 3 job.
Yeah.
Tuesday through Friday, probably. I don't know. I don't know what my hours would have been. But yeah, I could have taken it, and I could have gone to school, and I could have written all day and preached on Sunday, and then, but I'd had to live in Cheyenne.
It's not really a spiritual thing. It's more of a
Yeah. So like,
it's a geography thing.
No, when I was like, hey,
can we move the
we
church?
were asked to pray about.
Have you considered moving the church?
So we should pray about this,
Mm-hmm.
and I told her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I'll pray about it." No.
let me pray. Let me go ahead and pray.
Let me ask God. He said no. I was just like, "You need to be serious about this, woman." And she was like, "You need to be serious about we're moving to Boise." And I was like, "All right."
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, you could.
So in that case, I feel like it was.
Do you feel like do you feel like on it?
But I'm not angry.
Honestly, do you feel like that? Do you feel like you're fed up or frustrated or like what I think comes out of that question or that kind of questioning is the way you're living your life outside of Sunday morning and kind of outside of the realm of church responsibilities. Is it a reaction to something that happens in the church?
Yeah, no. Every church that I've left healthy, like in good ways.
All 20 of the churches I've left. Just kidding.
All of them.
I'm just kidding. Oh,
but I mean, like, when we were in Cheyenne, the church that I was on staff there, we left in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things shut down, so it made it easier. But we left in a healthy way when the church in.
So you don't feel like your efforts now are a reflection of
no, absolutely not.
A reaction to the church?
No, absolutely
okay.
not. And in fact, it was being in church, the college ministry that we talked about, that had moved me towards this. I think moved us towards this view that there's something else, there's something deeper. And matter of fact, there's a couple of, and we're in a couple of the same ones, but there's a couple of Facebook groups that we're a part of that have to do with leaving church and like doing this house church thing or whatever. And a lot of those people are like, I don't spend a lot of time on the
I try to be careful when you hang out with people who used to be a part of church and are no longer part of church, whether they're atheists, Christians, kind of,
right,
or whatever. Well, you got to be careful.
Mormons are called Jack Mormons. Can you call them Jack Christians?
No, because I guess so. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think it translates
the
same. I feel like you got to be careful. You got to be really careful because there's a lot of bitter people out there. But I think there are bitter people inside the church too.
Sure.
But there are bitter people that their only motivation is against church.
Right.
And I don't want to. Yeah.
And that's not me. Like I don't spend a lot of time in those Facebook groups because I'm like, why are you so angry? Like, man, like they took my time money, did nothing with it.
It's your fault, buddy.
Dude, don't get money.
You didn't have to.
Don't get money, man. Like,
I mean, you may have. You may have to.
Unless they had your credit card number and it was just debiting your account.
Yeah.
But so no, I'm not angry. Like,
okay.
And I try to not that I try and avoid, but like I do. I try to avoid
Mhm.
those situations where people are like spending a lot of time with people that are angry about church.
Yeah.
Now I'll spend time with people that are hurt, that have left church, hurt, because I've known enough of them and I care enough about them to be like, hey, this isn't how it is. Like, there's something else. There's
Egos,
Yeah,
personalities.
like
Things
what
like-
happened to you in that one location isn't indicative of what Christ desires for you, and it's not corollary to the rest of the church, to God's bride, the bride of
Right,
Christ.
right.
So no, I'm not angry.
Okay.
Are you angry?
Yeah, I love the church. I think that there are some things that the church does extremely well, and I like to highlight those things and point out when I see other churches doing something good. And I'm like,
right,
more of that. That's awesome. And so I just feel like in my context, I couldn't serve the vision that God was birthing and growing in my heart, and
If you
faithfully be a minister in the church setting.
right.
Because what we're doing is so different
Right.
that there was not a whole lot of interplay. So where I can be like, oh, I can fulfill the vision that God's put in my life or in my heart, and I can do this Sunday thing that's really important. There was a point where I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do them both well.
Right. So that kind of gets into like the way I try to explain it to people is, I'm not angry at institutional church, traditional church, whatever you want to call it, organizational church. I'm not angry at it. I'm not angry at a specific church or pastor. I'm not angry or trying to avoid home church. The home church movement has its own things and issues and flaws and good things about it. Both of them do. But what we're trying to do is kind of find this middle of the road that marries the connectedness and intimacy and growth and spirit, personal growth and spiritual growth of a home church, and the communalness of a gathered institutional church. We're trying to marry those two things, and that requires partnership with both, at both ends, because there's things that the institutional church can do that a home church will never be able to do. There's needs and things that they'll be able to meet, and there's a level of intimacy that happens within these smaller intimate groups that won't ever happen in bigger church, but are less likely to happen in bigger church. But a lot of bigger churches now are implementing life groups and community groups and small groups.
And this, I think,
bring with it.
I don't know if we've talked about it before. I'm sure we have, but the life group system, the small group
its reaction
stuff in
to
church,
lack.
The reason it's popular right now is because churches easily recognize that people are not connected to each other in a world that's continually drawing barriers between.
And
people.
we have talked about that. And
Okay.
like part of the
We've talked about
conclusion is also that it's backwards. That's when we're talking about
Yeah.
heart, home, and public space, or communal space. But it's backwards. They're trying to create this intimacy, and the hope is if we fill this public space, we can move people into their homes and filling their homes, and that will fix their heart. And for some people, it does, but the per capita ratio is not good. Like, it's not effective. But if you do it the other way, if your heart becomes filled and healed and whole, you'll automatically desire to fill your home with people.
Yeah.
And when your home is full and the Holy Spirit fills your home, that will seep out into those communal places, and you'll desire to push it out in that place. And that's kind of the model that we've been talking about, is let's fill our heart, then fill our home, and then be forced into the public space to gather with each other, and take it into the coffee shops and conversations in line at grocery stores and our workplace and whatnot. So
I'm not angry. Bruce isn't angry.
no, you're not.
Just doing our thing.
Yep. And then the other one, kind of the last one that my wife asked me the other day, she was like, what do you tell people about leadership? Like, when they're like, but I feel called to lead in church. what do you tell them? Because isn't leadership a real thing? And I'm like, no, it's a made-up construct. No, I'm just joking.
Completely made up.
Completely made up.
I'm curious what you said because no one's asked me that indirectly, in a different way. Maybe.
I was actually surprised at my wife. She's a smart woman. But I just, it just kind of, we were driving and it came out of nowhere. She was like, hey, let me ask you, what do you tell people about leadership when they're like, hey, I want to lead?
My immediate impression is if you want to lead in a church, go lead in a church.
Right.
I don't want you doing this because I think you're going to, the longing for that to be a leader of people in the church setting is really going to be distracting to giving up everything and allowing other people.
And she was asking too, kind of caveated on that with what about this? What if they wanted to do this, but they're like, I just feel called to be a leader. And I'm like, my answer was, I tell them lead, but you misunderstand leading in asking that question. The way that I'm not saying leading doesn't exist. I'm not saying that people aren't called to lead other people, because if you're a disciple of Christ, you're called to make disciples. And if you take that call serious, you're a leader. There is somebody that you are leading toward Christ as you learn to be like Christ.
Accurate.
And that makes you a leader. It makes you a leader. I don't buy it when anyone's like, I'm not called to lead. And then you've missed the Great Commission. You've missed what Christ has called us to, or you're willfully ignoring it. One of the two. You actually don't understand it, or you ignore it. And that's the only option. Because if you're a disciple-making disciple,
and you would argue that
you are a leader.
And I would argue that all Christians are disciple-making disciples.
All Christians are called to be disciple-making disciples. It might be one person.
I agree with
it might only be one person ever.
I would say the deep intimacy of following Jesus leads you to help other people follow Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I see
even
that.
Paul's like, follow me as I follow Christ.
Right.
And that's my issue, is that we've misunderstood what it means to be a leader in the church. Okay. Because we've made it a vocational thing.
Yeah.
And we've
that's a good point.
And we've even done this thing that's even sillier, where it's just because we want our volunteers who aren't getting paid and do more work than us, because we want them to feel valued, we're gonna do a leadership meeting once a quarter, and we're gonna call all of our volunteers leaders. You're leading in this area. I know that you only open the door. You're a leader. Right. But that's that's shallow. To me, that's awesome.
If everybody's a leader, nobody's a leader.
But it's the other way. Everybody is a leader, and there's real value and depth in that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you're not acknowledging the real value and depth of that by telling them hey, your greatest gift set is opening the door and smiling at someone like you mean it, that they're there. You're so happy that they're there. That's your greatest gift set. No, it's not. Your greatest gift set is the fact that you desire to follow Jesus and see other people follow Jesus well too. And you're going to spend time with them, cultivating that thing in them, that Christ in them. And you said it early in our relationship, the Jesus in me ministering to the Jesus in you is discipleship. When we started talking about mutual discipleship years and years ago, where the model that we tried to use in our college ministry that we led was mutual discipleship. And you don't ever hear that. You don't hear mutual discipleship. That's just not a thing, right? But I could sit across the table with, at 36 years old with a 22-year-old who has no life experience and still get from him something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Still get something that stirs my soul, that Jesus is
And in that moment, you're being led.
And in that moment, he's leading me. Or she is leading me. Women can lead.
Now he's crossed the line, and it's the end of the show. He's crossed the line, and that's the part of the show where we say something completely derogatory about the church, which is women can lead, and now we're done.
So I'm not saying you're wrong, church, but you're not right.
I know. There's lots of ways. There's lots of ways you could be not right.
I mean, That can be interpreted many a ways.
Oh man,
Many of people have interpreted that many a way.
That's true.
Anyway, my point being though, like,
Yeah,
if you take,
misconception of leadership is a serious detriment to
Right.
the gospel, the work of the gospel, and people. So
And
so you're saying
I'm
the
saying
apostles
don't have leadership luncheons for people that you call leaders that you don't actually believe are leaders because you don't treat them like leaders. Having a leadership luncheon for your ushers does not mean that you're acknowledging that they're leaders.
And
Like,
see, I would argue that. Yeah, I see. I
You know what I'm saying?
I totally get what you're saying. I feel like I agree with you that everyone who's following Jesus faithfully is a leader. You're leading by example. You're leading by what the things you choose to not do and not do. Right. You're leading in your pattern and like all of that stuff. And the other side of that is if you're going to run a ministry, if you're going to run an organization, let's not say ministry because that gets quirky.
Yeah, that
gets weird real fast. But if you're going to run an organization, you kind of have to have this development toward leadership.
Right.
You've got to have leadership development. I think maybe
so that's a little bit different.
Maybe your wife means how do we get people into leadership development? I don't know. I can ask her.
And we talk. No, and we talk about that. So that's a little bit different because I really think that like for those people that are leaders of men, and I use men as in the Adam, like God created humanity, like
leaders of humanity.
Leaders of humanity. For those people that there's an obvious call to be leaders.
Okay, got it.
Then we develop them as leaders, but not outside of developing them as disciples first. You know what I'm saying? And
that's a good point. Yeah.
And that's where I feel like we miss it all the time. Like, and you see it. We do that. This is what we do. A dude shows up or a girl shows up to church, and a man or a woman shows up to church. A guy or a gal.
A girl and a guy walk into a church.
Yeah.
Tell me if you heard this one.
They start coming. They're brand new. They start coming, and they just have this charisma about them.
Yeah.
You know, they might be a new Christian. Maybe
right.
They're looking for a new church. And they just have this charisma about them. There's just this thing where they're just like,
they got the stuff.
The
yeah,
stuff.
they got the
There's
it.
something
yeah.
there. It's it, right? So we look at them and we say, man, people want to be around. Like, I really want to know this person. And then they start like, hey, where can I? They're just enthusiastic about getting connected. So we're like, oh man, like you totally get connected. You children's, there's coffee, there, wherever, and we see them in there. And we did this.
Oh yeah,
in the shift.
Anybody who's run a church, anybody who's run
right.
a ministry,
and I think it was like
you get excited whenever you find people that are.
As I reflect back, I realized I was so much more concerned about developing them into a leader so that I could get programs done than discipling them so that they had a healthy walk with Christ and could handle the pressures of leading people.
Yeah,
and that's nothing.
I would say we developed a leadership track before we developed a discipleship track.
Absolutely, and that's.
I would say a lot of churches develop their leadership track before they.
And that's nothing to say about the fact that they may not want to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you disciple them well, and they might fall in love with just discipling one or two people at a time. But there's this pressure that's put on, like, you have the stuff, man.
Yeah.
And automatically we're thrusting them
team.
into this leadership team, leadership development thing. And we don't know if their heart's right. And we don't know if they're if they've ever discipled anyone. Like, I just feel like if you develop followership in someone and you see committed followership in someone, they will understand what it means to lead people better than if you just say, if they've never followed anyone well, and you just take them and put them into this program, and you're like, hey, we're going to develop you into a leader, thrust people underneath you, and while you're learning to lead them, like, do what I say. Like, that's not followership. Like, just do what I say is not followership. And so with the shift, man, I met with and sat underneath the pastor and the pastor of the college ministry and I messed up routinely. I got kicked to the curb a couple times. I got kicked to the curb a
And
couple
good,
times.
and good college ministry,
Um,
you gotta get kicked out at least once or twice. That's the best thing to happen.
And it was only once, but it was for a significant amount of time. But like I said, I wasn't even allowed to lead for the most part. Like people viewed me as a leader because I was 32 years old and I was hanging out with 22-year-olds. So they're like, "Oh, Bruce is a leader." I'm like,
No, I'm just old.
I just hang out, man.
I'm just old.
I have nothing else to
I'm
do.
creepy and old. Okay,
Yeah.
stop bothering me.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I think we see these leadership qualities, and we don't recognize them as good disciple qualities before we recognize them as leader qualities, and we're quick to be like, "Hey, let's make them leaders," instead of, "Man, those are qualities of a good, faithful disciple. Let's cultivate those. Let's build and nurture those toward Christ into a healthy spirituality with Jesus."
Right.
And
I would say a lot of the people that were a part of the ministries we've been a part of would have benefited later on in life, especially. Like you're talking not at the age of 20 and 23, but the age of 28 and 32, where they're starting their lives and they're married and they have kids, and the real life struggles that come along with that would have been a lot more navigatable, a lot more unto Christ and Christ centered had we pushed discipleship or learning to follow Jesus in everything, learning to bring all of life under the lordship of Christ. Had we done that early on and continually focused and redirected towards that, as opposed to, here, you're in charge of this. I know you love this, so now you're in charge of all of this. They definitely would have benefited eventually, more than they did. Because I think it was a detriment, and I think churches do it at their peril too. It's a detriment to recognize ability, charisma, attraction, all of that stuff in front of how well can you follow Jesus right now, where you're at, with what he wants.
So kind of getting back to answering that question, if someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, I want to lead. I feel like I'm called to lead. I love what you're doing. Where can I lead?" My answer to them would be, nowhere. You need to follow. Let's do this thing together where we learn to follow Jesus together. And that would be my focus. My answer would be, don't worry about leadership more than you worry about discipleship, man.
Yeah.
Like, you want to lead groups of people, lead one person to Christ. Like, disciple them into knowing Jesus better as you learn to know Jesus better. And I think it's better. I just think it's better. So that's like my answer is that.
It's good.
Don't worry about leadership.
It's real good.
Leadership will come. Like if the Holy Spirit, like if God wants you to lead, the Holy Spirit will move you to that place, and that call will become evident on your heart as you learn to love people and lead people to.
I look at the choosing of Stephen like that. That he was loved by the people already, and he was already serving the people. And so whenever they had this problem in the church and they took it to the apostles and they appointed these new leaders.
Did they cast lots for them too, or just
no,
the two to replace?
No, that was before that.
Oh,
that was Judas. That was to replace Judas. Matthias. Matthias replaces Judas.
You're probably saying that name wrong because you say.
I say all the names. I say that, guys. If you don't know this about me already, I don't know how to read the Bible in English.
He says all the names.
Or any other language that's that's known to man. I just read the names. I read them how I see them on the page. Job. Or the Greek guy, Chronikle, and his son, Chronikle II. You guys don't do that?
Okay, no. It's also not.
You don't call
it's also Hosea.
You don't call it Psalms? Like pterodactyl?
No.
No?
No.
Psalms?
Nope.
Okay.
There's no T. Pterodactyl's at least PT.
So, you don't call it...
Is it PT?
You don't call it Songs of Solo Man?
No.
Okay, fine.
Anyway.
Fine. I'm saying all the names wrong. I'm saying all the names wrong, I guess. That's fine.
What were you talking about, Stephen?
Oh, yeah. The choosing of Stephen. The choosing of Stephen is an example of that. That it's not that Stephen wanted to be a leader. Maybe that was in his heart. Maybe it wasn't. We're not told. What the needs of the people, the needs of the congregation, the needs of the church, the body of Christ came first,
Right.
and then to meet that need, somebody had to be appointed and rose up to do that.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people want to identify the position and before there's a need.
Right.
Before that there's something to accomplish, they want to accomplish everything. And you're like, you're put in a weird position. So that's why GCC and the lowest level of being in the lives of people without telling them what to do and how to do everything,
Right.
but trusting the Holy Spirit to kind of make that stuff happen is so significantly different than what the church is doing. What traditional church is doing, because I don't need leaders.
Right.
I don't need
Yep.
to be a leader. I get to love where I'm at, the people I'm with, and the situation that I'm the frustration and the joys of where I'm at right now all are part of what God's doing. And I see the Holy Spirit constantly putting his hand and fixing this and dealing with that in a way where I can trust God fully to accomplish what he's doing in people's hearts, what he's doing in my life, my responsibilities are being, how responsibilities are being met. I get to trust God with that. So yeah, I agree that the leadership, there's a skew in proper leadership versus making ministry happen in the traditional setting of church.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff, man. We
So
covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, so those are the questions. Those probably could have been some different episodes, but those are the questions essentially.
We definitely could have gone into detail with all that stuff like we did. I don't know how long this is, but
Yeah.
pretty long.
Those are the questions that we typically get asked, especially just revolving around church and kind of what we're doing outside the church. So, as always, you can check us out on the web and on Twitter. We're there on both. And that's it. We got a few more episodes we'll record. If you guys have a topic that you're interested in,
Got a question? You're like, hey guys.
If you want to know why we don't take things serious, we can't answer that.
Yeah, we can't answer that. My wife probably can answer that.
We should do an episode about women
There's
leading
a psychological problem. He's got to.
Yeah. We should
gotta
do an
disconnect.
episode about women leading in church.
We should. That'd be fun. And just be like, that's okay.
That's the episode.
That's the whole episode. That's the episode of women leading in church. That's okay. That works.
All right, so that's it. Anyway, contact us if you got questions. We'd love to hear from you. As always, it's a conversation more than it is.
Yeah.
If anything we said, you're like, nope, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'd love to hear that.
I'd love to be told that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I'll take it serious, but I might be like, oh man,
That's a good point.
This guy.
That's a good point. He used scripture.
Foiled with the Bible again.
Scripture wins again.
So that's it. Enjoy your week.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, stay on.
Stay on.
Thanks for checking out The Odd Show. You can follow Bruce on Twitter at bpags2 and Thomas at BlenderZen. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes and share us with your friends. Until next time, stay odd.